Welcome folks, welcome to round 1 of this stock blue-red Delver League. This is the first league I'm doing in this series. We're on the draw and we are facing a pretty mediocre hand. We do have the double Force of Will if we're playing against a very all-in deck. And we have a couple of Chain Lightnings if they're on a creature deck, but we don't have any plan of our own, so I don't like this hand. But we're on the draw and we get to react to whatever our opponent is doing this game, so I think I'm going to keep it. It's definitely on the edge of what I like keeping, but it is quite the safe hand against a lot of decks. Starting with Urborg Tomb, so I'm expecting some sort of depths deck, and yeah, there they go, battling into Sylvan Scrying. There are going to be a lot of turns in this game, from what I see in this hand. So them getting to search whatever piece they're missing is actually quite bad for us. And the fact that they used a Lotus Petal to get this cast on turn 1 could mean they're lacking a green source. So in any case, I'm going to counter this. I think this is a very easy counter. The question is whether we pitch our Force of Will or one of their Brainstorms. I think because we have only one land and we're not sure what we're going to do after, what we're going to find. I think I like keeping the Force of Will because we might need to delay them a bit more if things go wrong. And the first Brainstorm is a lot more important than the second one if we hit something decent. So they're thinking here, this might be them debating whether to Spirit Guide plus Veil of Summer, but it might also be a bit of a slower response because I was also taking a long time. So we found another Brainstorm. I think it's pretty clear here, we're just going to play a land and say go. It's a bit of a shame that we don't have a Lightning Bolt. We have both of our Chain Lightning, so if they Hex Mage here, we just can't just enter turn and kill it. Let's see what they do here. So they do have the Hex Mage. I think in this case, I'm gonna let this resolve. And then I want to Chain Lightning it on my turn. Now I have to Brainstorm, so I'm not too afraid of locking myself out for a long time. But I think that if I'm not going to counter this, I want to give myself the option to daze, because I don't have another land to play here. And because I don't have another land, there's a lot more value in being able to daze it. So if I miss on land with this Brainstorm, I think Daze would be a very good card. So we hit a land, but not a shuffle effect, but we do get to bottoms up with Preordain. I don't think we need 2 Force of Wills. We don't have any way to get more cards back, which means that we're just gonna redraw the second Chain Lightning, which gives us some insulation against the second Hex Mage. Yeah. So we're gonna have to draw one of our cards anyway, and I hate doing the Brainstorm there because we are basically not really getting rid of a lot of cards. But I do really want to use my mana when I'm only at one land, and the Daze could have been really good there. So we're finding another land and the Force of Will. I certainly don't want the Force of Will. The Scalding Tarn is very interesting, since this gives us a lot of options with a Brainstorm next turn, like putting our Chain Lightning away or something like that. That being said, there is a chance that we have to Force of Will something, and then we don't have our Brainstorm anymore. If that's the case, having a land on top of our deck is really bad for us. So because that is an option that could happen, I'm going to bottom this and just get a fresh card. Now we could Delver here. It's very unlikely that they have a Depths in their hand, since they could just play the Depths and the Hex Mage last turn. But I want to use my red mana. Let's say they play another Hex Mage, and I really want to be able to play another Chain Lightning on the next turn. And I think this is just safer. There's always a chance that they find the green source that they need to find the Dark Depths, or just find the Dark Depths in general. So I think Chain Lightning there is safer. Here we get Dawn Seized. It isn't ideal for us. We're either losing our threat or our Brainstorm. Well, our threat in this case, and they might be wastelanding us. So this is a tough spot. We need to get something going, but we have no knowledge of the top of our deck. And we really need another land to get to play a lot of our spells. Then again, if we wait, there's a very big chance that we're just giving them too much time to find the cards they want. If we wait, the question is, what do we do next turn if we just draw a random card that doesn't do anything interaction? I think because we can find Ponder and Preordain here, that lets us see more new cards next turn. I just want to Brainstorm here. I just don't want to risk not being able to do anything this turn and next turn. So this is interesting, whether we keep the Lightning Bolt or the Force of Will, or a land. We're gonna have another non-basic, so if they have a way to get their wasteland back or to get another wasteland, they're gonna be able to get rid of our second mana, but we don't really need a third one. That being said, I don't think we're in a position to pitch a lot of stuff to Force of Will and still be in this game. So I just want to do this, see what we find. This is tough since we kept another land. I think Wasteland and Daze is an idea, since that hitting the Urborg could be very valuable, and then the Daze also becomes good. And then we can fetch away the island. I don't think this is powerful, but it does give us a way to win this game, which is getting them stuck on land. If we just get random cards, there's quite a big chance that we don't have a plan. Even like if we find a Delver, which is a threat we could play next turn, we still don't do anything. We play a Delver, but then we're still not interacting with them or doing anything useful. So the question is, if they play a land here, which they did, whether we want to wasteland them or just keep this up in case they crop rotation and go for the kill. In any case, they will know that we have it. We won't get to fetch away our land. So if they do have the crop rotation, they get to crop rotation with this land. Then they have 2 mana. They won't have mana for the Destiny stage unless they have a Spirit Guide. I think it's tricky, but I really can't draw the land here, I think. There's a decent chance they do have the crop rotation maybe, but because they didn't have easy access to green earlier. So now they have another green source, so now I have to be afraid of end of turn crop rotation, another mana source, so I now have to be afraid of the end of turn Lage, if they have a crop rotation. So I don't want to draw that. I'm going to get another red source because, well, so I don't get wastelanded off my volcanic. And now I can keep up a Force of Negation. So because they played the petal, I don't really want to wasteland them randomly. I could hit their Thespian stage because I have Force of Negation up this turn. So what I'm going to do, I'm certainly going to pass the turn first. And then if they do anything or in their upkeep, I might want to wasteland them. I can't hit the wasteland the Thespian stage as long as it's untapped, since they can hit the island. So I think I just have to pass here. So they hit another land, so I'm happy I'm not fighting over their mana now. I'm just going to keep the wasteland up, so they need to have an additional way of interacting with me. I still really need to find my first threats. I'm just going to Preordain here and hope that we find something. 2 lands are definitely not what we're looking for. And the Force of Will is also not what we're looking for. Well, thus far, not really successful in hitting stuff to do, but at least as long as they just don't top deck the Dark Depths and Protection or something, we have something we can do. So now they're copying the Wasteland, which is interesting, since they could have copied the island in response to the Wasteland. And this now gives me an opportunity to interact with them, with their attachment stage, which I couldn't do earlier. Which is basically the way they win, is by top decking and dark depths. So I think I'm going to take this opportunity, even though, well, it's pretty clear that they probably have a crop rotation here. But I don't think I can do anything about it. Like, if I let them copy it, they can just always freely wasteland whatever they want of me. And always punish me for trying to hit the stage. Like, the way I lose here is them top taking something good. So now they have the stifle. It's my turn, so I can't really force for negation this. But I really do want to get that stage off the table. So what I'm going to do is pitch a day, since they have a lot of lands. If I'm not finding any new threats, I can keep open force for negation with my 3 mana. Like, it was clear that they wanted me to go for this, that they had something, but I think it was still right for me to do this, so I don't die to the top deck dark depths. Oh, here we have a Dreadlord Arcanist, which is obviously what we wanted to get going in this game. I think we're still very much behind. I mean, if they find the combo, we're basically soft to it. But at least Dreadlord Arcanist gives us a way to get into this game. So I want to find a Wasteland or a Caracas to play this turn, so I'm not going to play the Mountain pre-combat. I'm definitely going to attack. I don't think I necessarily need multiple cards to hit on multiple cards this turn. So I'm going to preordain. And hope that finds us what we want. So a Carcass is a great card to have here. And the Seasoned Pyromancer is decent. At least it's a threat that we can use, though it's not the fastest. So we can discard Lightning Bolt and the Mountain to Seasoned Pyromancer and then draw the Carcass. Or discard the Force of Negation and the Mountain. I think that's good enough. So we're gonna keep this both on top, just because it gives us the pressure we need. What I of course don't like about this is that we're gonna tap out for Force of Negation mana. But I think if we don't do that, it's gonna take us way too many turns to get pressure going. So I'm gonna discard the Mountain and the Bolt, because I really want to find a blue card for the Force of Negation and have some protection up. He's gonna jam the Caracas, so we're protected against naked combo this turn. Let's see where we go from here. And I forgot that Seasoned Pyromancer said non-land, but I still think it was good to discard the Mountain for a new card here. I'm surprised we won this first game. They just didn't find a lot of things while we were also struggling. And I even think they were still very much in this game, depending on how many stifles and wastelands they had in their main board. So against this version of the deck, Submerge isn't a good card, so we could play it as a 5 mana way of interacting with them. I do like having Flusterstorm. Pyroblast could be a consideration because it interacts with their stifles, and they probably have like a Flusterstorm or 2 post board. But other than that, we don't get a lot of additions. The advantage of a Braid, it can hit stuff like Pity Needle or Wastelands, though they also play a lot less of those since they're on the Stifle plan. I actually don't have Tom's decklist in my head right now, so what I'm gonna do is quickly check for Negator 77 to see what his plan post board is. Like against most of the decks, I have a pretty good idea what their post board plan is. But because of his new version of the deck, let's say, I'm a bit unknown to it. So he's probably gonna bring in Abrupt Decay, I think, because it both interacts with my Clonk and can interact with permanents that get in the way. Or, well, I might have something like a Blood Moon. And other than that, I don't think they... Yeah, they're probably gonna bring in a couple of Fluster Storms, but nothing other than that. So, they don't have any artifacts for me to hit with a Braid in this list anymore, so I don't want those. I do want the Flush Storm in this version of the, against this version of the deck. And I could see like a Relic versus their Reclaimer. Their deck is pretty good, pretty well set up at not losing to any of our sideboard cards. So what I think I'm going to do, definitely think I want to take out the Chain Lightnings and just get a better clock going. As you can see, our sideboard is very weak against this version of Dark Depths. I think we have a lot more option against the more traditional version. There we both get the Abrades for their Pitting Needle and their creatures, which we'll just board in over Chain Lightning. And we get Submerge. One thing I didn't consider, and that might also be good against, depending on how they sideboard, if we see Sylvan Safekeepers, then I would also consider bringing in the Blazing Volleys. So if we notice that they board in their Sylvan Safekeepers, I'm gonna board in the Blazing Volleys, hoping that they don't know what I'm doing, and I'm gonna board theirs out. It might have been good to just have them in the dark over Lightning Bolts or something like that. This is tough, but I can't throw away my Ponder to protect a Dread Arcanist when I have two, and they're probably just gonna take the Ponder. They know I'm very soft now to any good hand they could have. Because, yeah, I'm thinking if I want to play around Stifle, and I don't think I do. I think I'm fine with them using Stifle on my Delta. Stifle is a card that's pretty annoying for me. It protects them against a lot of my interaction. So now that they crop rotation here, I think I'm going to daze it. I think I want to get my Dread Arcanist online, but I think doing that gives up too much. So I think I like doing this, even though our Force Will is pretty dead. Oh, and they conceded. Apparently they didn't. I don't know why. It's just a concede because they did have another land but didn't play it first. I have no clue. I think they weren't out of game one when they scooped it up. I had a Dreaded Arcanist going, but they could definitely have still won. If they had answers to Carcass remaining in their deck, which I think they should have, like at least another Stifle, probably only one Wasteland, probably. So okay, maybe that was fine because of the Carcass. But this, I don't know what they kept here. Like, even if they have, if they resolve the crop rotation here, what are they getting? That if now that they don't get it, they immediately scoop. Like, giving up a mana confluence for another land doesn't really do anything for them. Unless they have like 2 Dark Depths and the Hexmage in play, and the only thing they were planning on doing is just going Urborg, and then playing the Depths and then going for the Hexmage, since they saw my hand and knew I probably had nothing to stop that. Yeah, so that must have been their hand, I think. I think their plan, their hand is Hexmage, Urborg, and then maybe a couple of interaction spells that they couldn't use with the mana they had, so they just had to go for this based on what they saw from my hand. And I just happened to have a Daze, but I think there's just such a big chance that I draw any blue card that taking a line that dies to Force of Will is pretty questionable to me, but of course I don't know the rest of their hand. Yeah, so that was this round. I'm pretty surprised I won it. I think this version of Depths is pretty bad for us, but well, Daze wins, I guess. Yeah, and Carcass. The main board Carcass actually was good. So see you guys for the next round.